We're recording now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. This is the the Executive Committee agenda. My name is Brandon Stallings, Chair of the Board of Trustees. I would like to call this meeting to order and start out with our Board Secretary, Ayrapetyan, taking the roll call.
Chen, not present. Cisneros,
Here.
thank you. Good.
Here.
Shelby, not present. Soel,
Present.
Stallings,
Present.
Tony,
Present.
Trejo.
Present.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Next up is our call for public comments. State Bar staff will attempt to call members of the public in the order in which they appear in the attendee pool. For those of you participating via Zoom, you should have a function for virtually raising your hand. It's a hand icon and should appear at the bottom center of your screen. If you wish to address this committee, please click on the hand icon now, and State Bar staff will call on you in the order that hands are raised. For those of you participating via phone, you may virtually raise your hand by pressing *9. That is the star key, the number 9. Again, doing so will alert staff that you would like to make a comment, and State Bar staff will call you and open your microphone so you can address the committee. For those of you who are participating from a noticed location, please alert State Bar staff member present in the room that you would like to make comment. Due to time restrictions, we cannot allow more than 3 minutes for each speaker. Please note that staff will have an on-screen countdown timer visible for all attendees during the duration of your public comment. The timer's 3-minute countdown will begin as soon as you start your comment, and you'll be verbally alerted once you have 30 seconds remaining. The on-screen timer will flash throughout the final 10 seconds. And it does not look like we have any advanced signups. Madam Secretary, can you identify remote members of the public who wish to speak?
Yes, we currently have one member, Todd Hill, who would like to address the committee.
All right, good morning, Mr. Hill.
Good morning, Mr. Stallings. Ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Trustees Executive Committee, thank you for granting me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Todd Hill. As someone who has grappled with significant transparency issues concerning the State Bar, I'm compelled to underscore the urgent need for pivotal reforms within this esteemed organization. Today, I present my concerns outlined in the document submitted for this meeting, titled A Hidden Ledger, Public Comments on Reforms for State Bar Closed Session Transparency and GAAP Compliance. Specifically, the closed sessions in question are closed to discuss liabilities and exposures that remain unnamed and are conspicuously absent from the State Bar's unofficial accounting reports. Whether or not these liabilities are ever realized, without reporting, they are impossible for the public to effectively track or determine if the closed session was, in fact, appropriately conducted or its outcome accurately disclosed. Transparency is not merely a preference in the pursuit of justice. It is a fundamental requirement. The integrity of the State Bar must be impeccable, starting with how you manage your closed sessions. Presence of undisclosed liabilities jeopardizes your adherence to generally accepted accounting principles and erodes the public's trust in your institution. True transparency means accountability, a principle sharply emphasized in the document. It is critical that you align your practices with the most rigorous standards of transparency, transforming your hidden ledger into a transparent showcase of your commitment to integrity. This meeting is a crucial opportunity to champion substantial and meaningful reforms. I urge you to transform your agendas and financial records from emblems of secrecy into beacons of transparent accountability. This is not merely your duty. It is your mandate to uphold the trust of the legal community and every citizen reliant on the pillars of justice you are sworn to uphold. Thank you for considering these essential reforms. I look forward to seeing your decisive actions in making the State Bar a paragon of transparency and accountability. I yield the rest of my time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hill. Any other members of the public?
Yes, next we have Ray Hayden.
Hi, sorry about that. I don't want to repeat anything that I'm going to say for the full Board of Trustees that want me here, but I do want to mention something to do with the that's not part of my statement on that. It has to do with money, and the Finance Committee would probably be more interested in that. There was an estimate, y'all be aware, of the savings for changing the bar exam in different ways and everything else. And I'm going to say, assume the highest savings, okay? But there are additional savings that haven't even been touched that were part of my original discussions with CalVar, there are additional savings in the millions of dollars. They're just spread out over years. So on a year-to-year basis, they're not going to be immediately viable, but the maximum 4 million or 4.2 million savings or whatever that you see in the estimate is actually lower than what the savings will really be if this is done right. Also, I had a suggestion in my original discussions was to not use a separate company, but to use talent within the State Bar of California by setting up specialty attorney groups who are not subject matter experts in their field, but very competent in their field to create those multiple choice questions and then vet them out inside CalVar. So those are the things. And there's more savings to happen down the road as far as discipline and everything else goes. It doesn't take much to think about that and consider it, but there are additional savings for the California Bar to get the budget in place. And I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hayden. Any other members?
Yes, Benjamin Cohn.
Hello, good morning. I wanted to address the same topic regarding the new vendor for the bar exam and support the proposal for the NCBE to be replaced with this new vendor. I think it will help you with your operational integrity goals as far as having more flexibility in being able to administer not just the exam remotely, but on potentially different dates, potentially different frequencies, all these things that the MBE is not letting you do that prevent you from providing adequate remedies when things that you don't expect go wrong. There's always something. And so that should be accepted. I think you want the budgetary savings too, but there are other reasons to applaud this proposal. The next thing that I wanted to address was in respect to the budgetary constraints. I understand that there's been some pushback by the legislature to the fee increase. I testified, and some of you were there and heard at the Assembly Judiciary Committee hearing on it, but I didn't get the impression that they were willing to give the full 125, in large part because they were concerned about the State Bar's conduct. It's not just a matter of how many dollars they think the public should have to pay or the attorneys should have to pay or bear, but they have concerns about funding behavior that they disapprove of. And I understand that there's been some requests since then that the State Bar has pushed back on, which is a little bit puzzling to me because given the importance of getting them to approve an adequate fee increase. So I encourage you to cooperate fully with any requests that they make, especially the ones that I support, but in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohn. Any other members?
We do not have any additional members who'd like to address the committee.
And then as to the board members attending remotely, are there any individuals at your respective locations who wish to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll go down to the chair's report. I will waive that and we'll deliver a report to the full board. Going to item 2, this is item 2A, approval of March 21st, 2024 open session minutes. And we'll just ask if there are any modifications or corrections to the open session minutes. And if none, may I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Sounds like first by trustee Good, second by vice chair Cisneros. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Chen, not present. Cisneros,
Yeah, aye.
Good.
Aye.
Shelby, not present. Soel,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Trejo,
Aye.
Stallings.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, minutes are adopted.
Thank you. Going to item 3A, this is approval of 2024 Finance Committee Work Plan. And this is being presented by our Chief Financial Officer, Araceli Montoya-Chico. So welcome, Ms. Montoya-Chico.
Thank you, Brandon. Good morning, committee members. So I'm going to present really quickly the Finance Committee work plan that was just presented and approved at the Finance Committee just before this meeting. I don't have a presentation, but the attachment itself is in the agenda item. It's the Finance Committee work plan is part of the Finance Committee charter itself, and it lists all of the tasks. I'm calling it tasks that the Finance Committee is responsible for reviewing on an annual basis. Everything listed here is what we will review in 2024, whether we've already reviewed and approved it, and any also upcoming work plan items. Most of these are recurring. For example, we do the quarterly review in the Finance Committee, the investment reports on a quarterly basis as well. The Finance Committee is also responsible for the budget, reviewing the preliminary budget, and ultimately approving the final budget for passing it on to the full board for final approval. So all of the tasks or work plan items are listed in the attachment. There's any questions on it? Otherwise, that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Any questions for staff on this? All right, any other discussion, or may I have a motion in a second?
Joe Stallings, this is already out. I'll move the item.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. I think we need to get some coffee to all the trustees here. I know I certainly need a little bit more this morning, but we have a first by Trustee Sowell, second by Trustee Good. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Chen, not present. Cisneros.
Aye.
Good.
Aye.
Shelby, not present. Soel.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
Trejo.
Aye.
Stallings.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Going down to item 3B, this is approval of State Bar appointee to the Judicial Council of California. I will be presenting on this item, and I want to thank my fellow appointment liaison, Trustee Barahona, for the work that they did on this item. Certainly, the appointment position is very involved, and I want to thank staff for all the work that you put into this agenda item, and also just thank Trustee Barahona in advance for the deluge of documents that we are going to be reviewing in the next month or so. This item relates to the Judicial Council. As you might know, the Judicial Council acts as an advisory body to the courts, and is intimately involved in various programs and objectives in meeting the needs of the individuals in which the Superior Court is located. And certainly as someone who practices in state court, someone who talks to a lot of practitioners in state court, there's a heightened need for more self-help materials, for programs to train lawyers in local rules, and also train lawyers in how best to assist the public as well as lawyers in the efficient administration of justice. And to that end, we appoint 4 different individuals to the Judicial Council. This year there is 1 appointment to be made, and after extensive work by staff, by Trustee Barahona and myself, we are pleased to submit to you the appointment of Craig Peters to a 3-year term with Robert Meyerhoff and Ashley Nickerson to serve as alternates for 1 year. We do not have any alternates currently regarding this Judicial Council appointment position. And that was one of the things that I had asked staff to follow up on. Generally, a alternate member is appointed if one of our members, or one of our appointees rather, has to terminate their service early. One of the things that you might have noticed in the agenda item is that usually for the state bar commissions that we appoint to, commissions that we have control over and that we exercise our regulatory function over, we generally report out on various demographics. That is, we don't have a requirement that sub-entities or other, not sub-entities, but rather other organizations that we appoint to, that they track that sort of demographic information. But we do not have that demographic information at this point from the Judicial Council. We'll continue to work with Judicial Council to make sure that our diversity objectives can hopefully be maintained through our appointees to that body. So that was another question that both Trustee Barahona and I had for staff. But going back to Mr. Peters, I was impressed with his contributions across various projects, including the Cooperative Restraining Order Clinic, Homeless Advocacy Project, and the Legal Referral and Information Service. And I think that Mr. Peters will bring fresh insight and fresh blood to the Judicial Council, and that his commitment to the legal community is really going to be a great service to the Judicial Council and then to the various superior courts as Judicial Council helps to govern. So I am happy to take any questions. We'll also open it up to any questions for staff as well. All right, it looks like we're being joined by Trustee Shelby. Or wait for her to come on. Any questions? All right, and if not, there's the resolution up on the screen. If there's no further questions or discussion, can I have a first and a second?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
This is Arnie, I'll second.
All right, first by Trustee Tony, second by Trustee Sewell. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Chen, not present. Cisneros,
Aye.
Good.
Aye.
Shelby. Trustee Shelby may be connecting still. Soel,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Trejo,
Aye.
Stallings.
Aye.
6 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
Great, thank you. I do want to express my deep appreciation to David Fu for his efforts, not only on the Judicial Council, but the various other board sub-entities that he has served on. Definitely appreciate your work on these committees, and thank you for finishing out your term here on the Judicial Council, which will expire in September of this year. So thank you, and thank you to staff for all of your work on this important item. All right, that brings us to the end of our business, and so we will adjourn into our full Board of Trustee meeting. We're at 9:58. We have a couple minutes. If any trustees need to take a bio break, please do so. But